I lied to get my neighbor evicted, and I don't feel guilty because she's the reason my son almost died. Her name was Brenda, and she lived in the apartment next to mine for 2 years. My son Kyle was 6. The building had this old layout where the balconies were connected by this thin metal railing, maybe 3 feet between hers and mine. Brenda smoked. Not cigarettes, weed. Every single night on that balcony. The smell would drift right into Kyle's bedroom window. Because his room faced the balcony, I asked her nicely 4 times to smoke somewhere else. She'd say okay and then do it again the next night. I complained to the landlord twice. He said he'd talk to her. Nothing changed. Kyle has asthma. Bad asthma. The kind where he needs his inhaler twice a day, and we have an emergency nebulizer in the kitchen. I told Brenda this. She laughed and said weed smoke was natural and probably better for him than his medications. I'm not joking. She actually said that. 3 months ago, Kyle woke up at 2 in the morning coughing. I went to his room and he was gasping. His lips were turning blue. I grabbed his inhaler. Empty. I'd refilled it that morning. It should have had plenty left. I ran to get the backup from the bathroom. Also empty. I checked the dates. Both were expired. I'd messed up. I'd forgotten to check. I called 911. Kyle was on the floor. His breathing was barely there. The operator told me to keep him calm. I was trying. He was making this wheezing sound like a broken whistle. The ambulance took 9 minutes. Felt like 9 hours. They had to give him oxygen in the truck. The ER doctor said if I'd waited even 3 more minutes, his airway would have closed completely. The doctor asked what triggered it. I told him about the smoke. He said prolonged exposure to smoke, especially in an enclosed space, could absolutely cause an asthma attack that severe in a kid like Kyle. He wrote it in the chart. Smoke exposure from neighboring unit. I went home the next day after Kyle was stable. Brenda was on her balcony smoking. I completely lost it. I screamed at her. She told me to calm down and said my kid was fine now, so what's the big deal? That's when I decided. I called the landlord. I told him Brenda was dealing drugs out of her apartment. I said I'd seen people coming and going at all hours. I said I'd found a baggie in the hallway that must have fallen from her place. I said I was worried about my son's safety with that activity next door. I said if he didn't do something, I'd call the police and report both her and him for allowing it. None of it was true. She smoked. Sure, but she wasn't dealing. I didn't find anything in the hallway, but I had that hospital report. I had the doctor's notes about smoke exposure. I told the landlord I had documentation that smoke from her unit sent my kid to the ER. That part was real. He served her an eviction notice 1 week later. Lease violation and illegal activity. She knocked on my door crying. Said she'd lose her deposit. Said she'd been looking for jobs and couldn't afford to move. Said she didn't understand why I'd lie about her. I closed the door. Brenda left without another word. I finally had peace. Then 3 weeks later, Kyle's teacher called me in for a meeting. Said Kyle had been telling the other kids a story about how mommy made the bad lady leave, how I'd lied to make her go away. The teacher said at first she thought it was just a child's imagination, but Kyle kept adding details. About the hospital, about Brenda crying, about me yelling. She said she had to report it. School policy. I tried to explain, but she'd already called the principal. The principal had already called the landlord. The landlord confirmed everything. Confirmed I'd accused Brenda of dealing drugs. Confirmed there was never any evidence. The principal said she was obligated to contact CPS because Kyle's story suggested I'd manipulated a situation that put him in danger with the expired inhalers and then blamed someone else. The caseworker arrived at the school before I could leave. She took Kyle into another room. I waited in the hallway. 40 minutes later, she came out and said based on Kyle's testimony and the medical records, they were placing him in emergency protective custody while they investigated. Security escorted me out while Kyle screamed for me from behind the principal's office door. I stood in the parking lot for I don't know how long. Maybe 20 minutes? Maybe an hour? My keys were in my hand, but I couldn't remember where I'd parked. Everything felt underwater, muffled, slow, like my brain was trying to protect itself from what just happened. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. Wendy. Hey, want to grab dinner this week? I stared at those words for so long the screen went dark. Normal words. Normal life. Meanwhile, my son was in some room somewhere crying for me and I wasn't allowed to get to him. I finally found my car. A gray Honda Civic with a dent in the back bumper from when I backed into a shopping cart 2 years ago. Kyle thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. He made me tell the story to everyone for months. Tell them about the cart, Mom. Tell them how you screamed. I sat in the driver's seat and just breathed. In and out. In and out. The caseworker had given me a card with a number to call. She said someone would contact me within 2-4 hours with information about visitation. She said to go home and wait. Go home and wait. Like it was that simple. The drive back to the apartment took 15 minutes, but I don't remember any of it. I pulled into my parking spot and looked up at the building. 3rd floor, Unit 3B. Kyle's bedroom window was visible from here. The window that faced Brenda's balcony. The window I'd spent 2 years wishing faced literally anywhere else. I walked up the stairs because the elevator was broken again. It had been broken for 3 months. The landlord kept saying he'd fix it. He never did. Same story as Brenda's smoking. Same empty promises. Same nothing. My apartment door looked different somehow. Smaller. Emptier. I unlocked it and stepped inside, and the silence hit me like a wall. Kyle's shoes were by the door. Those light-up sneakers he'd begged me to buy at Target. He was wearing his other shoes today. The plain white ones from Payless that he said were boring, but I'd told him we couldn't afford 2 pairs of fancy shoes. His cereal bowl was still in the sink from this morning. Fruit Loops. Half the milk still in it because he always said he wasn't thirsty after eating the cereal. I'd told him 1,000 times to pour less milk. He never listened. I walked to his room. His bed was unmade. His favorite stuffed animal, this ratty brown dog he called Biscuit, was on the pillow. He'd had Biscuit since he was 2. He still slept with it every night. He'd told me once that Biscuit protected him from bad dreams. Biscuit was here. Kyle wasn't. I sat on his bed and picked up the dog. It smelled like him. That particular mix of kid shampoo and playground dirt that was just Kyle. I held it to my chest, and that's when I finally cried. I cried until my head hurt, until my throat was raw, until I couldn't breathe, and for one horrible second I understood exactly how Kyle felt during his asthma attacks. That panic, that helplessness, that feeling that your own body is betraying you. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Wendy calling. I answered. Hey, you didn't respond to my text. Everything okay? I tried to talk, but nothing came out except this weird croaking sound. Jenna? Jenna, what's wrong? They took him. My voice didn't sound like mine. They took Kyle. What? Who took Kyle? What are you talking about? I told her everything. The school, the caseworker, the emergency protective custody. By the end, she was crying too. I'm coming over, she said. Don't do anything. Don't talk to anyone. I'm coming right now. Wendy lived 40 minutes away, but she made it in 30. She brought food I couldn't eat and coffee I couldn't drink. She sat with me on the couch and held my hand while I stared at Kyle's bedroom door like he might walk out of it any second. Okay, she said finally. Okay. We need to think about this logically. You need a lawyer. I can't afford a lawyer. Then we find one who does payment plans. Or pro bono. Something. You can't navigate CPS without legal help. Wendy, I lied. I told the landlord Brenda was dealing drugs. That was a lie. Kyle told his teacher. The landlord confirmed it. I'm not going to win this. You also had a son in the hospital because of smoke exposure from her apartment. That's documented. The doctor wrote it down. That's real. But the drug dealing part wasn't. And that's what they're focused on. The caseworker kept asking about my judgment. About why I'd fabricate something instead of handling it through proper channels. What proper channels? You said you complained to the landlord twice. You asked her directly 4 times. What else were you supposed to do? I don't know. Sue her? Call the health department? Wendy was quiet for a moment. Did the caseworker mention what happens next? There's going to be an investigation. They'll do a home visit. They'll interview me. They'll decide if Kyle can come home or if he needs to stay in foster care while they figure out if I'm an unfit mother. That's insane. You're not an unfit mother. I let his inhalers expire. Both of them. And then my son almost died. That was a mistake. People make mistakes. The caseworker didn't seem to think so. She kept using this phrase, pattern of behavior. Like the lie about Brenda and the inhaler thing were connected. Like I'm the kind of person who neglects things and then blames other people. That's not fair. Brenda's smoke genuinely caused the attack. The doctor confirmed that. But I still let the inhalers expire. If they'd been full, maybe the attack wouldn't have been as bad. Maybe I could have stopped it before his lips turned blue. Maybe we wouldn't have needed the ambulance at all. Wendy squeezed my hand. You're spiraling. Stop. We need to focus on what we can control. She pulled out her phone and started searching for family lawyers in the area. Within an hour, she'd found 3 who offered free consultations. She made appointments for all 3 the next day. You're going to get through this, she said. Kyle is going to come home. I wanted to believe her. I really did. That night I couldn't sleep. I tried lying in my own bed, but the apartment was too quiet. I moved to the couch, then to Kyle's room. I curled up on his small bed with Biscuit pressed against my chest and watched the shadows move across the ceiling. At 2 a.m. I heard a sound. A familiar sound. Someone on the balcony next door. I froze. The apartment was supposed to be empty. Brenda was gone. The unit was vacant. But I heard it again. A lighter clicking. Then silence. Then a long exhale. Someone was smoking on Brenda's old balcony. I crept to Kyle's window and looked out. A figure was standing there in the dark. A woman. Not Brenda. Someone younger. She was holding a cigarette and looking out at the parking lot. A new tenant already. The landlord hadn't wasted any time. She turned slightly and I ducked back from the window. My heart was pounding. It was just a cigarette. Just tobacco. Normal. Legal. But the smell was already drifting in and suddenly I was back in that hallway. Back watching Kyle gasp. Back hearing that broken whistle sound. I closed the window and went to the living room instead. At 6 a.m. my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I answered immediately. Miss Holloway? This is Patricia Chen from Child Protective Services. I wanted to let you know that Kyle is doing well. He's been placed with a temporary foster family. He had some trouble sleeping last night, but he ate breakfast this morning. Can I see him? When can I see him? We're scheduling a supervised visitation for Thursday. That's in 2 days. You'll receive an email with the location and time. 2 days? I have to wait 2 days to see my son? I understand this is difficult, but we need to complete the initial assessment first. This is standard procedure. He's 6 years old. He's never been away from me for more than 1 night. He's going to be terrified. The foster family is experienced with children Kyle's age. They have a son around his age. Kyle seemed comfortable with them when we arrived last night. Seemed comfortable. Like that meant anything. Like Kyle wasn't just putting on a brave face because he didn't know what else to do. I need to know where he is. I need to know he's safe. I can't disclose the foster family's address at this time, but I can tell you that Kyle is in a safe, loving environment. Our goal is always reunification when appropriate. The investigation will help us determine the best path forward. What do I need to do? What can I do to get him back faster? Cooperate fully with the investigation. Be honest during your interview. Address any safety concerns we identified during the home visit. Demonstrate that you're committed to Kyle's well-being. I am committed. He's my son. He's everything. I believe you, Miss Holloway. We're not trying to punish you. We're trying to protect Kyle. Sometimes those things look the same, but they're not. She hung up. I sat there holding my phone with Kyle's photo as the lock screen. Him at the playground last summer, missing his 2 front teeth, grinning like the whole world was made of ice cream. The lawyer consultations happened back-to-back the next day. The first one was a disaster. An older man in a cramped office who spent most of the session talking about his fee structure. He barely asked about the case. When I told him about the lie I told the landlord, he winced and said these things are tricky when there's documented deception. The second lawyer was better. A woman named Gloria Vasquez who actually listened. She had pictures of her own kids on her desk. 2 girls around Kyle's age. She took notes while I talked and only interrupted to ask clarifying questions. Here's the thing, she said when I finished. CPS cases aren't about proving guilt or innocence like criminal cases. They're about assessing risk. The question they're asking isn't, did you lie about your neighbor? The question is Kyle safe in your care? He is safe. He's been safe for 6 years. I believe you. But we need to prove it. The expired inhalers are a problem because they suggest medical neglect. Not intentional, but negligent. And the lie about drug dealing suggests you're willing to manipulate situations instead of handling them directly. Put together, CPS could argue that you're a parent who cuts corners and covers up mistakes. That's not who I am. I know. So we need to show them who you actually are. Documentation is key. Can you get records from Kyle's pediatrician? Vaccination records? Wellness visits? Dental appointments? Anything that shows you've been proactive about his health? Yes. I have all of that. Good. What about the inhaler situation? Can you explain how both ended up expired at the same time? I thought I'd refilled them. I remember going to the pharmacy, but when I checked the dates that night, they were both old. I don't understand how that happened. Gloria leaned forward. Did you actually see the pharmacist that day? Do you have the receipt? I thought about it. I went to the drive-through window. I picked up a bag. I assumed it was Kyle's medication, but I never actually checked. So it's possible you picked up the wrong order? Or they gave you expired stock? I guess. But I should have checked. That's on me. Maybe partially. But if the pharmacy made an error, that's relevant. Can you check your credit card statement? See exactly what you were charged for that day? I hadn't thought of that. I pulled out my phone and opened my bank app. Scrolled back to that day. There it was. CVS Pharmacy. $14.27. Kyle's inhalers cost over $50 each, even with insurance. I said slowly. $14.27 wouldn't cover either of them. So what did you pick up? I don't know. Maybe my own prescription? I have a refill for allergy medication. That's about that price. Gloria sat back. So you went to the pharmacy thinking you were getting Kyle's inhaler, but you actually picked up your own medication. The pharmacy probably called about a refill. You assumed it was his, and you never verified. Oh my God. It's an honest mistake. A mistake that had serious consequences, yes. But it's not the same as willfully letting them expire because you didn't care. Can we prove that? We can try. Call the pharmacy, get records of what was dispensed that day. See if Kyle's inhalers were even ready for pickup or if you'd missed a step in the refill process. I called CVS as soon as I left her office. It took 20 minutes of being transferred between departments, but I finally got an answer. Kyle's inhaler prescription had expired. Not the medication itself, the prescription. It needed renewal from his pediatrician before they could dispense it. They'd sent an automated message to my phone 3 weeks before the attack. I checked my texts. There it was. A message I'd ignored because I thought it was spam. I'd never renewed the prescription. I'd never picked up his actual medication. I'd been using old inhalers for weeks without realizing the new ones had never arrived. I sat in my car in the pharmacy parking lot and felt the weight of that truth settle over me. This was my fault. Not entirely, but more than I'd wanted to admit. I'd been so focused on Brenda, so certain she was the villain, that I'd missed my own failures. The prescription notification, the expired backup, the attack that didn't have to be as bad as it was. But Brenda's smoke was still a trigger. The doctor confirmed that. Without the smoke, maybe Kyle wouldn't have needed his inhaler that night at all. Or maybe he would have. Asthma is unpredictable. That's what the doctor had told me when Kyle was first diagnosed. You can do everything right and still have attacks. Or you can make mistakes and get lucky. There's no formula. I'd made mistakes. I hadn't gotten lucky. And now Kyle was paying the price. Thursday came slowly. The visitation was scheduled for 3 p.m. at a CPS office downtown. Wendy drove because I was too anxious to focus on traffic. The building was exactly what you'd expect from a government facility. Beige walls, fluorescent lights, chairs with mysterious stains, a receptionist who barely looked up when we walked in. Name? Jenna Holloway. I'm here for a supervised visit with my son Kyle. She typed something into her computer. Room 4. Down the hall. Second door on the left. Your caseworker will meet you there. Room 4 was small. A table with 4 chairs. A stack of board games in the corner. Some toys that looked like they'd been touched by 1,000 sad children. A two-way mirror on one wall that wasn't fooling anyone. I sat down and waited. At 3:07, the door opened. Patricia Chen walked in first. Then a woman I didn't recognize. Then Kyle. He looked smaller than I remembered. How was that possible? It had only been 2 days. But his shoulders were hunched and his eyes were red, and he was holding onto the strange woman's hand like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Kyle. I breathed. He looked at me. For a second, he didn't move. Then his face crumpled and he ran. I caught him in my arms and held on so tight I was probably hurting him, but I couldn't stop. He was crying and I was crying and the caseworkers were watching and I didn't care. "Mommy, I want to go home," he sobbed. "I don't like the new house. They have a cat and it smells weird and the boy there keeps taking my toys." "I know, baby. I know. I'm working on it. I'm going to fix this." "Why did you lie about the lady?" "The teacher said you lied." That stopped me cold. I pulled back and looked at his face. "What did the teacher tell you?" "She said you told a fib about our neighbor and fibs have consequences. She said that's why I have to stay somewhere else for a little while." I glanced at Patricia. His teacher told him I lied? That seems inappropriate for a child to hear from a school official. Patricia made a note. "I'll follow up on that." "Kyle, why don't you show your mom the picture you made?" Kyle wiped his nose with his sleeve and pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. He handed it to me. It was a crayon drawing of our apartment building. 2 stick figures on a balcony. One had yellow hair like me. The other had brown hair like Brenda. Smoke was coming from the brown-haired one. The yellow-haired one had X's for eyes. "That's you and the bad lady," Kyle explained. "You're mad because her smoke made me sick." "That's right, baby. Her smoke did make you sick. But you still told a fib." I looked at my 6-year-old son. This child who'd absorbed everything and understood more than I'd given him credit for, and I didn't know what to say. "I did something I shouldn't have," I finally admitted. "I was scared and angry and I made a bad choice. But everything I did was because I was trying to protect you." The teacher said that's what bad guys say. They always think they're the good guys. Jesus Christ. What had his teacher been telling him? "Kyle, I'm not a bad guy. I'm your mom. I love you more than anything in the world, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to bring you home." He looked at me with those big brown eyes, so much like his father's that it still hurt sometimes, and I could see him trying to decide if he believed me. "Okay," he said quietly. "But no more fibs?" "No more fibs, I promise." The rest of the visit passed too quickly. We played Candyland. Kyle told me about the foster family's cat, whose name was Muffin. He said the food there was okay, but not as good as mine. He asked when he could see his room again. When he could sleep with Biscuit. "Biscuit is waiting for you," I said. "He's on your pillow right now. He misses you." Kyle's eyes got wet. "Tell him I miss him too." "I will." When the hour was up, Patricia said it was time to go. Kyle clung to me. I had to physically unpeel his fingers from my arm. The other woman, his foster mother, took his hand gently. "We'll take good care of him," she said. "He's a sweet boy." I nodded because I couldn't speak. Kyle looked back at me as they walked out. He waved once. Then the door closed and he was gone again. Wendy found me in the bathroom 20 minutes later, sitting on the floor of a stall, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. The home visit was scheduled for the following Monday. Gloria told me to clean the apartment thoroughly, but not obsessively. They're looking for livable conditions, not a showcase home. Too clean can actually raise flags that you're hiding something. I cleaned anyway. Scrubbed every surface. Organized every closet. Made Kyle's bed with fresh sheets even though he wasn't there to use them. The caseworker who came wasn't Patricia. It was someone new. A man named Theodore Banks, who went by Teddy. He was younger than I expected. Late 20s maybe. He carried a clipboard and wore a button-down shirt that was slightly too big for him. "I'll be conducting the home safety assessment," he said. "This should take about an hour. I'll need to see all rooms, including closets and storage spaces. I'll be taking notes and possibly photos for the file." "Of course. Whatever you need." He started in the living room, checked the outlets, looked behind the couch, opened the cabinet under the TV. He made notes without speaking. I stood there, feeling like a prisoner awaiting judgment. In the kitchen, he examined the smoke detector, tested it by pressing the button until it beeped. He looked in the refrigerator and noted the contents, checked the expiration dates on things, made more notes. When we got to Kyle's room, he paused at the doorway. "This is your son's room?" "Yes." He walked in slowly, looked at the bed, the toys, the posters on the wall, Biscuit on the pillow. Then he turned to the window. "This faces the neighboring balcony?" "Yes, the one where my former neighbor used to smoke." He walked to the window and opened the blinds, looked out. The new tenant's balcony was visible. An ashtray was sitting on the railing, empty but present. "There's a new tenant?" "I think so. I've heard someone out there a few times." "Smoking?" "I've smelled cigarette smoke. Not weed like before, just regular cigarettes." He made a note. "Has this affected Kyle's breathing?" "He's not here, so I don't know." Teddy looked at me. "Right. Of course." He kept writing. He finished the tour by checking the bathroom, my bedroom, and the hallway closet. He noted the nebulizer on the kitchen counter. He asked to see Kyle's medications. "They're not here anymore," I said. CPS took them with his overnight bag when they picked him up from school. The expired ones? Those were thrown away at the hospital. But they took his current ones. The ones I finally got renewed after the incident. So you do have renewed prescriptions now? Yes. Gloria, my lawyer, helped me sort out the pharmacy issue. The prescription had expired without me realizing. It's all current now. Can you show me documentation of that? I pulled out the folder Gloria had helped me assemble. Pharmacy records, prescription dates, a letter from Kyle's pediatrician confirming his asthma management plan, proof that I'd attended a parent education class on childhood asthma in the past week. Gloria said it would show initiative. Teddy flipped through everything. This is comprehensive. I'm trying. I made mistakes. I know that. But I'm trying to fix them. He closed the folder. Miss Holloway, can I be honest with you? Please. I've seen a lot of cases. Parents who genuinely don't care about their children. Parents who are dangerous. Parents who need to have their kids removed permanently for everyone's safety. You don't seem like those parents. I'm not. But CPS doesn't operate on seeming. We operate on documented facts. And the documented facts in your case are concerning. The inhaler issue. The false report to your landlord. The way this all came to light through your son repeating things at school. I understand. Here's what I can tell you. You're doing the right things now. The documentation, the classes, the lawyer. Keep doing them. The investigation will take another few weeks. There will be more visitations, more assessments. If everything continues in this direction, reunification is likely. Likely? I can't promise anything. The final decision isn't mine. But based on what I've seen today, I don't see any reason Kyle can't come home eventually. Eventually? That word sat in my chest like a stone. Is there anything else I should be doing? Teddy hesitated. This is off the record. But if I were you, I'd think about the smoke situation. What do you mean? You said there's a new tenant. You've smelled cigarette smoke. Kyle has severe asthma. Even if you get custody back, that problem isn't going away. What's your plan for that? I didn't have one. I hadn't thought that far ahead. That balcony has been an issue for years, I admitted. I don't know how to fix it without moving. Can you afford to move? Not really. This apartment is cheap. It's in the school district. It's all I can manage on my salary. Teddy nodded slowly. Then you might need to get creative. Talk to the landlord about sealing the window permanently. Get an air purifier for Kyle's room. Document everything in case it becomes an issue again. You're saying this could be used against me in the future. I'm saying you need to protect yourself and your son. Whatever that looks like. He left after that. I sat in the living room and stared at Kyle's door and tried to figure out what creative meant when you had no money and no options and the walls of your apartment were literally making your kids sick. Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since the home visit and I have news. Some of it good, some of it less good. I'll start with the good because I need something to hold on to right now. Kyle is coming home. Not permanently yet. It's called a trial reunification. He'll live with me again, but CPS will continue monitoring. Weekly check-ins, random home visits, monthly court reviews. If anything goes wrong, anything at all, he goes back to foster care and we start the whole process over. Gloria called it progress. I call it walking on broken glass. The less good news is more complicated. Let me explain what happened. After Teddy's home visit, I took his advice about the smoke situation seriously. I talked to the landlord, a man named Gerald who's owned this building since the 82nds and seems to resent every minute of it. I asked about sealing Kyle's window permanently. Sealing a window? Gerald looked at me like I'd asked to knock down a wall. That's a fire hazard. Building code violation. Can't do it. What about moving Kyle to a different bedroom? You have a one-bedroom apartment. There is no other bedroom. Right, I know. But is there a larger unit available? One where his room wouldn't face the balcony? Gerald checked his computer. There's a 2-bedroom opening up on the 5th floor next month. Rent is $400 more than what you're paying now. $400 more. I ran the numbers in my head. I couldn't do it. Not even close. What about the new tenant next door? Can you tell them about the smoke situation? Ask them to use the front of the building instead of the balcony? I already had this conversation with your former neighbor. You saw how that ended. So you're not willing to do anything? Gerald shrugged. It's a legal activity in a private space. As long as it's not weed. I can't enforce anything. I left his office frustrated but not surprised. Gerald had never been helpful. He only cared about 2 things: collecting rent and avoiding lawsuits. Everything else was someone else's problem. That night I bought an air purifier online. A HEPA one that was supposed to handle smoke and allergens. It cost $180, which meant I had to skip paying my credit card minimum that month. But I didn't care. I set it up in Kyle's room and let it run all night. The next morning, the apartment smelled cleaner. Not perfect, but better. I felt a tiny spark of hope for the first time in weeks. Then Brenda showed up. I was coming back from work on a Tuesday evening. I'd stopped at the grocery store for supplies to make Kyle's favorite dinner for his homecoming. Spaghetti with garlic bread. He always asked for extra cheese on top. I had 2 bags in my arms and was fumbling with my keys when I heard someone say my name. I turned around. There she was, standing at the bottom of the stairwell, thinner than I remembered, darker circles under her eyes, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt that looked like she'd slept in them. Jenna, I didn't move. I need to talk to you. I have nothing to say to you. Please, 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. You shouldn't be here. This building already kicked you out once. I know. She held up her hands. I'm not trying to cause problems. I just found out what happened with Kyle, with CPS. I heard about it from Gerald's secretary. Gerald has a secretary? Part-time. She handles paperwork. She's also a major gossip. Brenda stepped closer. I heard they took your kid because of what you told the landlord about me. That's not exactly what happened, but it's related? The lie you told about me dealing drugs? I set down my grocery bags. Why do you care? Brenda was quiet for a moment. Because I've been thinking about it ever since I left. About what you did. About why you did it. And I realized something. What? I would have done the same thing. That wasn't what I expected. Excuse me? If someone was hurting my kid and nobody was helping, I'd lie too. I'd do whatever it took. That's what parents do. You don't have kids? No, but I have a niece. She's 4, my sister's daughter. When I got evicted, I moved in with them for a while. I watched my niece have a nightmare one night. Just a regular nightmare, nothing serious. But my sister's response, the way she just knew what to do, how to hold her, what to say, I'd never seen anything like it. That's when I understood. Understood what? Why you lied. You weren't being malicious. You were being desperate. There's a difference. I stared at this woman who I'd vilified for months, who I'd blamed for everything wrong in my life, and I didn't know what to feel. Brenda, I appreciate you saying that, but it doesn't change anything. Kyle is still in foster care. CPS is still investigating. My life is still a disaster. That's why I'm here. I want to help. Help? How? I want to give a statement. To CPS. To your lawyer. Whoever needs to hear it. I want to tell them that you asked me nicely to stop smoking. Multiple times. I want to tell them that I ignored you. That I knew about Kyle's asthma and I didn't care. I want to tell them that you went through proper channels first, and I made it impossible. Why would you do that? Because it's the truth. And because you don't deserve to lose your kid over my stubbornness. I didn't know what to say. This wasn't how enemies were supposed to act. This wasn't how any of this was supposed to go. I'll talk to my lawyer, I finally said. Give me your number. If she thinks it'll help, I'll have her contact you. Brenda wrote her number on a receipt from my grocery bag. Her handwriting was messy. The kind of messy that suggested her hands were shaking. For what it's worth, she said, I'm sorry. About all of it. I should have been a better neighbor. She left before I could respond. I brought the groceries upstairs and put everything away. Then I called Gloria. A statement from the neighbor? Gloria sounded surprised. That's actually interesting. Will it help? It might. The core issue CPS has with you is judgment. They're worried you're the kind of person who takes shortcuts and blames others for your mistakes. If we can show that you tried to handle this properly and were stonewalled at every turn, it changes the narrative. So she should give a statement? Yes. I'll reach out to her directly. We'll need to be careful about how we frame it. We don't want it to look like you're deflecting responsibility. We want it to supplement your accountability with context. Whatever works. There's something else, Gloria said. The school teacher who told Kyle you lied. That became a formal complaint. The principal investigated, and it turns out she told multiple students that their parents were being investigated for lying. Some kind of misguided lesson about honesty. She's been reprimanded. Good. She scared Kyle for no reason. It's more than that. Her actions actually help your case. If CPS sees that Kyle was coached or influenced by a third party before their investigation, it calls into question some of what he said during that initial interview. Not enough to dismiss everything, but enough to create doubt. I don't want to discredit my own son. We're not discrediting Kyle. We're discrediting inappropriate adult behavior that affected his testimony. There's a difference. Everything felt like differences lately. Fine lines between right and wrong. Between protecting my son and making things worse. Between the lie I told and the truth I was trying to rebuild. Kyle came home on a Friday afternoon. Wendy drove me to the CPS office to pick him up. The same beige building. The same fluorescent lights. But this time I walked out with my son instead of without him. He was quiet in the car. Held onto Biscuit with both hands. Didn't ask questions. Didn't make jokes. Just stared out the window like he was memorizing the route home. When we got to the apartment, he went straight to his room. I followed. Found him standing in the doorway, looking at everything like he was checking if it was real. It's the same, he said finally. Yeah, I didn't change anything. The air smells different. I got a machine to clean it. For your breathing. He walked to the air purifier and touched it. It makes a noise. Is that okay? It's like white noise. Like the app you used to play when I was little. I can turn it off at night if you want. No. He sat on his bed. I like it. I sat next to him. How are you feeling? Weird. That makes sense. I missed my bed. And Biscuit. And you. He looked at me with those impossibly big eyes. Do I have to go back to the other house? Not if I can help it. There are going to be some people checking on us for a while, making sure everything's okay. But as long as we follow the rules, you're staying here. What rules? You keep taking your medicine. I keep all your prescriptions up to date. We tell the truth about everything. We let the CPS people visit whenever they need to. That's a lot of rules. I know, but we can do it. What if I mess up? Then we deal with it. Together. That's what families do. Kyle leaned against me. His head fit perfectly in the crook of my shoulder. He'd always fit there. From the time he was a baby. Mom? Yeah? I'm glad you're not a bad guy. I held him tighter. Me too, baby. Me too. The first few weeks of trial reunification were tense. Every knock on the door made my heart race. Every phone call could be CPS with bad news. I triple-checked Kyle's inhalers every morning, set reminders on my phone, created a chart on the refrigerator to track his medication schedule. Teddy came for random visits 3 times in the first 2 weeks. He'd just show up, unannounced, and I'd have to let him walk through the apartment and check on things. Kyle got used to it faster than I did. Started treating Teddy like a weird uncle who stopped by without calling first. "He's here again," Kyle would say, barely looking up from his homework. The visits always went fine. The apartment was always clean. Kyle was always healthy. His asthma was under control with the new air purifier running constantly. But then something happened that almost derailed everything. The new tenant next door threw a party. It was a Saturday night. Kyle was asleep in his room. I was in the living room watching TV. Around 11 p.m., I started hearing music, then voices, then laughter. I didn't think much of it at first. People have friends over. It's normal. But then the smell hit me. Not cigarette smoke. Weed. Strong and unmistakable. I jumped up and ran to Kyle's room. He was still asleep, but the air purifier was working overtime. The smell was there, fainter than before, but present. I closed his window tightly, checked the seals, put a rolled-up towel at the bottom. The smell kept coming. Kyle coughed in his sleep. Just once. Just a small cough, but it sent ice through my veins. I grabbed his inhaler from the bedside table, watched him for any sign of distress. His breathing seemed normal. The cough didn't repeat. I stayed in his room for 3 hours, watching, waiting, terrified. The party ended around 2 a.m. The smell faded. Kyle slept through the whole thing. Never woke up, never needed his inhaler. But I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, I called Gloria. "This could be a problem," she said. "If CPS finds out there's marijuana smoke reaching Kyle's room again, they might argue that the environmental hazard hasn't been addressed. But I got the air purifier. I sealed the window. What else can I do? Document everything. Write down the date, time, and what happened. Take photos of any residue you can see. Keep records in case you need to show that this is an ongoing issue you're actively managing." Should I talk to the new neighbor? Yes, but be careful. No accusations. Just explain the medical situation and ask for cooperation. If they refuse, you'll need to escalate to the landlord again. I knocked on my neighbor's door that afternoon. It took 3 tries before someone answered. She was young, maybe mid-20s. Messy hair like she'd just woken up, tank top and sweatpants. Not unfriendly, but clearly annoyed at being disturbed. "Yeah? Hi, I'm Jenna. I live next door, Unit 3B. Okay. I wanted to talk to you about last night. The party." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "What about it?" "There was marijuana smoke. A lot of it. It came into my apartment." "So? It's legal. I know. But my son has severe asthma. He's 6. The smoke can trigger attacks that sent him to the hospital. That sucks for him." I took a breath. "I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. I'm just asking if you could maybe smoke inside instead of on the balcony, or use a different room. Anything that keeps it away from our shared wall." She stared at me for a long moment. "Lady, I pay rent just like you. This is my space. I'll do what I want in it. I understand. But if it affects my son's health, then move." She started to close the door. "Wait, please. I've already had CPS take my son once because of smoke from this building. I can't go through that again." That made her pause. "CPS? Child Protective Services. They thought I wasn't providing a safe environment. They put him in foster care for almost a month. He's only been back for 2 weeks." She looked at me differently now. Not sympathetic exactly, but curious. "That's messed up." "Yeah, it was. And it was because of smoke?" "It was part of it. There were other factors. But the smoke was what triggered his attack." She leaned against the doorframe. "Look, I'm not trying to make some kid sick. I didn't know anyone next door had asthma. The last tenant knew. She didn't care. That the one who got evicted for dealing? She wasn't actually dealing. It's complicated." The woman raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like it. Can we just figure something out? Some way for you to enjoy yourself without it affecting my son?" She thought about it. "I mostly smoke in the evenings. After work. Could you do it in your bathroom instead? With the fan on? The vent goes out the other side of the building. I guess. That's inconvenient though." "I know. I'm sorry. I just don't have other options." She sighed. "Fine. I'll try it. But if your kid ends up in the hospital anyway, that's not on me." "Fair enough. Thank you." She closed the door without another word. I went back to my apartment and collapsed on the couch. Wendy texted to ask how I was doing. I told her fine, which was a lie, but I was too exhausted to explain. The bathroom solution worked for about 2 weeks. The smoke stayed minimal. Kyle stayed healthy. The air purifier kept running. Then I came home from work on a Tuesday and found Teddy sitting in the parking lot in his car. He got out when he saw me. "Miss Holloway, we need to talk." "Is this a random visit?" "Not exactly." He followed me upstairs. I unlocked the door with shaking hands. "What's going on?" "We received a complaint." "A complaint?" "From your neighbor. She called the CPS hotline this morning. Said you've been harassing her about her lifestyle choices. Said you threatened to get her evicted like you did the last tenant." The floor dropped out from under me. "That's not true." I asked her nicely to smoke in a different location. I explained about Kyle's asthma. "I never threatened anyone. She says otherwise." "She's lying." Teddy pulled out a recording on his phone. She recorded part of your conversation. My blood went cold. What? He pressed play. I heard my own voice, slightly distorted but unmistakable. Already had CPS take my son once because of smoke from this building. I can't go through that again. Then her voice. That's messed up. My voice again. The last tenant knew. She didn't care. Her. That the one who got evicted for dealing? Me. She wasn't actually dealing. It's complicated. The recording ended. According to your neighbor, you admitted that you falsely accused the previous tenant of drug dealing to get her evicted. She says you implied you would do the same to her if she didn't comply with your demands. I never said that. The recording doesn't show me threatening anyone. No, but it does show you admitting to a false accusation, which corroborates what we already have in the file. I've already admitted to the lie. I've taken responsibility. This isn't new information. It is when it comes from an outside source. It suggests a pattern. A pattern of what? Manipulation. Using deception to control situations. This is exactly the concern CPS has had from the beginning. I sat down heavily on the couch. What does this mean for Kyle? Teddy didn't answer immediately. It means the investigation is being reopened. Reopened? But he just came home. I know. And this might not change anything. But I have to report what happened. My supervisor will review everything and make a determination. Can they take him again? I can't answer that. It depends on what the supervisor decides. When will you know? A few days. Maybe a week. In the meantime, continue as normal. Keep up with his medication. Document everything. If something happens with the smoke situation, call me directly. He left. I sat in the silent apartment and tried to figure out how everything had gone so wrong so fast. Update 2. The week that followed Teddy's visit was the longest of my life. Every morning I woke up expecting a call that would shatter everything. Every night I watched Kyle sleep, memorizing his face, preparing myself for the possibility that I might lose him again. Gloria called twice with updates. Neither was good. The supervisor assigned to review your case is someone named Margaret Hollins. She's known for being extremely thorough but also very strict. If she decides the neighbor's complaint has merit, she could recommend removing Kyle again pending a full hearing. On what grounds? Pattern of manipulative behavior. Failure to address environmental hazards. Possible threats against a neighbor. I didn't threaten anyone. I believe you. But the recording is damaging. It makes you look calculating. All I did was explain why I needed her to cooperate. And in doing so, you revealed information about your own case that could be used against you. You told her the previous tenant was falsely accused. You told her you'd already lost Kyle once. She's now using all of that as ammunition. So being honest made things worse. Being honest with the wrong person at the wrong time made things worse. Welcome to the legal system. On Wednesday, the new neighbor escalated. I was in the laundry room downstairs when she found me. She was wearing workout clothes like she'd just come from the gym, hair pulled back, expression hostile. You need to stop, she said. Stop what? I haven't talked to you since our conversation 2 weeks ago. You had CPS come to my apartment. What? A caseworker came by yesterday. Asked about my living situation, my job, whether I use substances. They said they received a complaint about possible drug activity in my unit. I didn't file any complaint. Then who did? I don't know. Maybe someone at your party smelled something and called. Right. Because random neighbors call CPS over weed. Give me a break. I'm telling you the truth. I didn't report you for anything. She stepped closer. You already admitted you made false accusations before. Why should I believe you now? Because making another false report would guarantee I lose my son permanently. I'm not that stupid. She stared at me for a long moment. You better hope that's true, because if I find out you're lying, I'll make sure you never see that kid again. She walked out before I could respond. I stood in the laundry room shaking. When I got back to my apartment, I called Gloria immediately. Someone reported the neighbor to CPS. It wasn't me, but she thinks it was, and now she's threatening me. Threatening how? She said she'll make sure I never see Kyle again. Did anyone witness this? No. We were alone in the laundry room. Then it's her word against yours. This is insane. Every time I try to do the right thing, it backfires. Welcome to custody disputes. Gloria paused. There might be something we can do. The neighbor's complaint against you is based on a recording she made. In this state, it's legal to record conversations you're a party to without consent. But using that recording as leverage against you in a CPS case could be considered harassment or intimidation. How does that help? If we can demonstrate that she's actively trying to sabotage your reunification, it changes the narrative. You're not the aggressor here. You're the victim. That feels like a stretch. Maybe, but it's what we have. The next day, Wendy came over to help me strategize. She'd taken time off work, something she never did, and showed up with a laptop and a folder full of printouts. I've been researching custody cases involving environmental factors, she said. There are precedents where parents successfully argued that external hazards weren't their fault as long as they took reasonable steps to mitigate them. I have the air purifier. I talked to the neighbor. I documented everything. Exactly. That's reasonable. What CPS is looking for is willful negligence. If you can show you've been proactive, they can't claim you're ignoring the problem. But the new complaint makes it look like I'm causing problems. Unless we can prove you're not. How? Wendy pulled up a security camera app on her phone. I called your landlord. Asked about the building's security system. There are cameras in the common areas. including the laundry room. You think they recorded our conversation? Maybe. If they did, it'll show that she approached you, that you didn't seek her out, that you were just doing laundry when she confronted you. Gerald isn't going to help me. He's been useless this entire time. He might if there's a liability issue. If one of his tenants is threatening another, and that threatening leads to legal consequences, he could be dragged into it. I thought about it. That's actually smart. I have my moments. We went to Gerald's office together. Wendy did most of the talking. Using legal terminology I didn't fully understand, but that clearly made Gerald nervous. The security footage from the laundry room on Wednesday, Wendy said. We need a copy. That's private building property. It's also potential evidence in a custody case involving 2 of your tenants. If you refuse to provide it and the case escalates, you could be subpoenaed. Or worse, accused of obstruction. Gerald's face went pale. I'll have to check with my lawyer. Do that. We need the footage by Friday. He called us that evening. The footage was available, and it showed everything. The neighbor approaching me, her aggressive body language, her threat at the end, all of it recorded in grainy but clear video. Gloria filed a motion the next morning. By Friday, Margaret Hollins had reviewed the new evidence. The neighbor's complaint was dismissed as retaliatory. The investigation was closed again. Kyle stayed home. But the neighbor's situation wasn't resolved. She was still living next door. Still angry. Still hostile whenever we crossed paths in the hallway or parking lot. I started timing my exits to avoid her. Took Kyle to school earlier than necessary. Did laundry in the middle of the night. Grocery shopped at weird hours. We were prisoners in our own building. Then something unexpected happened. The neighbor's landlord complaint got processed. Not about me. About her. Remember how Teddy said CPS had received a complaint about drug activity in her unit? That complaint triggered a building review. Gerald, terrified of liability after Wendy's visit, decided to actually do his job for once. He had the building manager conduct inspections of all units. The neighbor failed. Not for marijuana, which was legal, but for having too many occupants. Turns out she had 3 roommates living in a 1-bedroom apartment, all of whom were subletting illegally. She was evicted within a month. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I just watched her load boxes into a moving truck and felt something complicated. Relief, mostly, but also guilt. Because even though I hadn't filed that complaint, someone had, and the timing was suspicious enough that I still wondered if there was more to the story. The new tenant who moved in after her was a retired librarian named Dorothy, who lived alone, didn't smoke, and brought Kyle homemade cookies every Christmas. Update 3. Final. It's been 18 months since CPS first took Kyle away. 18 months of court dates, home visits, documentation, and sleepless nights. 18 months of rebuilding trust, not just with the system, but with my own son, who saw things no 6-year-old should see, and heard things no kid should have to process. He's 8 now, 2nd grade. His asthma is well controlled with medication that I triple check every single month. The air purifier in his room still runs constantly, though Dorothy next door has never once caused a problem. The trial reunification ended 6 months ago. CPS closed the case officially. No more random visits. No more documentation requirements. No more living under a microscope. But some things don't go back to normal just because a case is closed. Kyle has anxiety now. Not severe, but noticeable. He worries about things other kids his age don't think about. Whether I'll be home when he gets back from school, whether his inhaler is working, whether someone might knock on our door and take him away again. We started seeing a family therapist 2 months after he came home. Her name is Dr. Reese, and she's helped us develop strategies for when Kyle's worry spirals, breathing exercises, grounding techniques, a special code word he can use when he's feeling overwhelmed in public. The therapy helped me too. I finally talked about the lie I told, about how I'd convinced myself it was justified, because I was protecting my son, about how that justification unraveled into consequences I never saw coming. Desperation doesn't excuse deception, Dr. Reese said during one session. But understanding why you made that choice helps you make different choices in the future. I think about that a lot. Brenda actually testified at my final custody hearing. Gloria arranged it as part of our documentation strategy. She sat in that courtroom and told the judge exactly what she'd told me in the stairwell that day, that I'd asked nicely, that she'd ignored me, that she'd known about Kyle's asthma and hadn't cared. Then she said something that made the whole room go quiet. I'm an addict. Marijuana mostly, but some other stuff too. I've been in recovery for 8 months now. Getting evicted was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But looking back, it might have saved my life, because it forced me to move in with my sister and face the things I'd been running from. She looked at me. Jenna made a mistake. She lied about me. I'll never forget that. But she was trying to save her kid. I was just trying to get high. We're not the same. The judge thanked her for her honesty. I thanked her afterward in the hallway. We haven't spoken since, but I think about her sometimes. About the weird way people's lives intersect and diverge and intersect again. Kyle's teacher this year is wonderful. She knows his history, not all the details, but enough. She makes sure he sits away from windows in case of air quality issues. She lets him keep his inhaler in his desk instead of the nurse's office. She sends me weekly updates about how he's doing. He made a friend named Oliver who has allergies almost as bad as Kyle's asthma. They trade stories about medications like other kids trade Pokemon cards. It's adorable and slightly heartbreaking. Wendy comes to dinner every Sunday. She's become more than a sister through all this. She's become my co-pilot, the person I call when I don't know what to do, the person who shows up without being asked. Mom died while Kyle was in foster care. I never got to tell her what was happening. She had dementia, advanced enough that she didn't recognize me most days, and I'd stopped visiting as often as I should have because I was dealing with everything else. She passed quietly in her nursing home bed while I was sitting in a CPS office fighting for custody of my son. I regret that. I'll always regret that. But I also know that I made the choices I made because I had to prioritize. Because Kyle was alive and present and needed me in ways my mother couldn't anymore. That doesn't make it right. It just makes it real. Last week, Kyle brought home a school assignment. They were supposed to write about their family. Most kids wrote about siblings or pets or trips to Disneyland. Kyle wrote about the time he lived in a different house. His teacher showed it to me at pickup, asked if I wanted to discuss it. I read it standing in the school hallway with parents streaming past me on both sides. I lived in a different house once. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't my house. There was a boy there who was okay and a cat that smelled funny. But I missed my mom and my dog Biscuit, who is stuffed and not real, but still my best friend. My mom made a mistake, but she fixed it. Now I live in my real house again. The end. I stood there holding that paper for so long the teacher had to ask if I was okay. Yeah, I said. I'm okay. And I meant it. We're okay now. Not perfect. Not back to the way things were before. But okay. The kind of okay that comes after you've been broken and put yourself back together piece by piece. Kyle still asks sometimes if I'm going to tell lies again. I always give him the same answer. No more fibs, I promised. He nods like he's checking something off a list. Then he goes back to whatever he was doing. Playing video games, drawing pictures, being a kid. I watch him and I think about everything that led us here. The smoke, the lie, the teacher, the caseworker, the foster home, Brenda in the stairwell, the neighbor in the laundry room, Dorothy with her cookies, Dr. Reese with her breathing exercises. All of it connected. All of it leading to this moment where an 8-year-old boy trusts his mother again.